What if the biggest problem in your life is not your situation, but the way you think about it? This is the story of a woman who changed an entire village without money, power, or magic. Once upon a time, in a quiet little village surrounded by fields and dusty roads, there lived an old woman. Her hair was silver, her face covered with gentle wrinkles, and her hands carried the marks of a long and difficult life. But her eyes were calm, warm, and filled with kindness. No matter how hard life became, the old woman always smiled. She lived alone in a tiny house beside a huge banyan tree at the edge of the village. Her husband had passed away many years ago, and she never had children of her own. Still, she never complained. Every morning, she would sit beneath the tree, greeting villagers with a peaceful smile as if she carried no burden at all. And that was what confused people the most, 'cause life in the village was not easy. Sometimes the rain never came, and the crops dried beneath the burning sun. Sometimes people became sick and couldn't work for days. Worry had become a normal part of life. One afternoon, a young woman named Maria came running toward her house. Her eyes were red from crying, and her hands trembled with fear. "I don't know what to do anymore," she said. "My husband went to the city to find work, but it has been months. He hasn't sent any money, and my children are hungry." Tears rolled down her cheeks. "I'm scared." The old woman looked at Maria quietly and gently asked her to be relaxed. Then she asked softly, "Tell me, my child, what is your mind telling you right now?" Maria lowered her head. "That something bad will happen. What if he never finds work? What if he forgets about us?" The old woman smiled gently. When the mind is filled with fear, even small problems begin to feel impossible. But when the mind holds hope, the heart becomes stronger. Maria looked confused. "How can I think positively when everything around me feels wrong?" The old woman leaned back slightly and said, "Let me tell you a story. Many years ago, there was a poor man who believed he had nothing left in life, no money, no family, no food. Every day, he sat beside a river and cried. One day, an old traveler stopped beside him and asked, "Why are you crying?" The man replied bitterly, "Because life has given me nothing." The traveler smiled and pointed around him. "Then why can't you see what is already yours? You have the river beside you. You have the trees dancing in the wind. You have the warmth of the sun. You are alive." The man fell silent. For the first time in many years, he looked around carefully. And slowly, his tears stopped falling. The old woman looked back at Maria and said softly, "The man's life did not change overnight, but his thinking did. And sometimes, that is where all change begins." Maria listened carefully. "So you believe thoughts can truly change a person's life?" The old woman nodded. "If every morning you wake up believing that life is finished, your heart will become weak. But if you wake up believing that tomorrow still holds hope, you will find the strength to keep going." Those words stayed with Maria. The next morning, for the first time in weeks, she woke up and whispered to herself, "Today will be a good day." And slowly, something inside her began to change. She worked harder. She cared for her children with hope instead of fear. And every night she prayed with a peaceful heart instead of a worried mind. Then one morning, a letter finally arrived. Her husband had found work in the city. He was safe, and he was sending money home. Maria burst into tears of joy. She ran straight to the old woman's house and hugged her tightly. "You were right." Soon the villagers began visiting the old woman one by one. Some came carrying fear. Some came carrying sadness, and some simply came searching for peace. But to all of them, she gave the same lesson. The mind can become your greatest enemy or your greatest strength. And slowly, her words began changing the village itself. Because sometimes, a single hopeful thought is enough to change an entire life. If this story changed the way you think, even a little, imagine what the next one will do. Subscribe to Untold Reality to change how you see life.